Welcome to One of the Trenches podcast. I'm Johnny Jones. This is Patches Kaplan. Here to break down conference championship week and talk some college football playoff. How we doing, Patch?
Good to see you, Johnny.
Yep.
We ended the regular season. I did a little bit of math. You went 47 for 100. You would have, if you bet $10 on each game, you'd be down $107 right now. What's crazier about that is I think that you and I are probably better than the average person at betting just because we follow college football so much. And you're batting at 47%. I went 54 for 100. I'd be up $26 on the season at a $10 unit.
Yeah, what this season has taught me is I'm a lot better at picking those underdog money line kind of things.
Very much so. You are dominating me at 28-18. I need a Hail Mary throw in the playoffs.
Yep.
The crazy thing about the playoffs is after this week, the lines are going to be within, 2 or 3 points of each other?
Yeah, the lines are huge this week, but they're definitely going to shrink next week. I guess it depends on who wins and loses, but still.
True. Very true. I think I have a good upset for this week. It'll get me the lead. Just previewed it for the fans. So we have, was there anything that jumped out on you on conference championship week, in terms of the games, in terms of the talent, the seeding?
I don't know. We could go game by game, but I think Clemson looked good. Their ability to kind of hang on to that game was big. I think one thing that really jumped out at me is that I think a lot of people picked Penn State really to get ran through by Oregon. I think they showed enough offensively. I think the defense didn't look great, but logistically, I think a lot of people were really worried about Drew Aller, that offense, and I think their offense really showed their ability to hang with a high-flying offense like Oregon. I was really impressed by their ability to keep that a game because
at certain points it did seem like it was going to be a blowout. At one point,
I know, and they were able to
8-7.
They were able to hang in there. And I think, a lot of guys stepped up on that offense. Like the biggest thing all year has been their receivers and guys like Harrison Wallace, Omari Evans. Those guys really made big, like that Drew Aller throw. He's got a guy on his back, 4th and 10, gets it in the end zone. That's winning football. And I think that will travel in this playoff.
Yeah, I certainly agree with you. I was impressed. There was points where I didn't think they were going to be able to keep up. And then just like they did all year, they came back, played a great second half. I really liked the way they played. I think Oregon is obviously the team to beat, but they also have one of the toughest paths in the playoff.
Which is
I do want to jump into the playoff, but it is really unfortunate how that played out. Tez Johnson of Oregon is the fastest human I've ever seen. His cross routes and whatnot, him cutting across the field, it's remarkable how fast that guy is.
If he gets open and doesn't have a guy automatically on him, it's over. His ability to make
if he ever gets in a position where a linebacker covers him.
Yeah, it's over. I just don't get how he doesn't get killed out there. He's my size and weight.
Yeah, he's got some chicken legs.
Also, I was also really impressed with Arizona State. I thought that was going to be a close game, and they blew the doors off Iowa.
And just like you and I were texting about, Matt Campbell does the exact same thing every time. He has a great first 15 to 20 plays. Mm-hmm. He burns himself out, has no adjustment whatsoever. There was times where I was a little bit nervous. I was like, oh, maybe Iowa State is that guy. And then it was just a matter of ground and pound. Do you think Arizona State's built for the playoffs, though?
No, just because I think they, we talk about, a lot of teams getting a tough draw, and, they might not have been a good draw for them. I think they would have done better if they got, Georgia's side of the bracket. I think they might have stacked up better against a Notre Dame or Indiana. I think Clemson and Texas are going to be too big and way too athletic for them.
I would agree, but I think that any team that can run the ball the way they can, and that was my exact prediction last week. I put Arizona State money line as my lock of the year, just because I love the way that they're able to run the ball. A team that can run the ball like that can be dangerous. We saw it with Michigan time and time again this year.
The run game travels.
Exactly. Georgia can't throw for hell. And
no,
what they did in the SEC championship.
Yeah, just the only thing is I think Clemson and I don't think Arizona State's faced anything like a defense that Clemson and Texas have. I think that's the star of both those teams is defense. I think both have scary guys up front and athletic linebackers that can kind of fill gaps but also cover. So I think Arizona State is, I don't know, just from a defensive standpoint, like where they match up offensively is going to really struggle.
So whoever they play won't be a home game though, Johnny. That's a neutral site game.
Chick-fil-A Bowl in what's that? Peach Bowl is Atlanta. Yeah, Atlanta, the Mercedes Dome. Yeah, so I guess I don't know. Would be a home game for Clemson, basically.
Yeah. No, it's interesting because they obviously get a week off, and then on top of that, they have an extra game of film to watch,
Yeah.
an extra week to recover. I think Arizona State is in a good position for Arizona State. I think that they would do worse against Georgia, worse against Notre Dame, worse against Indiana. I think that they could really have a good shot at putting some numbers up on Texas. And, what we saw in the SEC championship moving to that game is Texas offense is absolutely terrible. And I don't know where or what happened to Quinn Ewers or at what point he lost his confidence. I think you put it well, like in the just the Georgia Texas game way back in October, was he lost all his confidence. He has like the pure
Yeah.
yips. I've never seen, and Steve Sarkisian's an offensive minded guy. I've never seen in my life an offense that has their quarterback immediately check down or throw it out of bounds, like clockwork. Check down,
No,
throw it out of bounds. Check down, throw it out of bounds. And he can't do anything more.
no, it's crazy. Like my dad said it early in the season. He was right. Where like if Carson Beck and Quinn Ewers just took this entire year off, we got top 10 picks. You also said it. Like I think they both played their way out of a lot of NFL money where it's like those two guys coming in were like two of the top guys. And both of them this year, I don't know what happened to either offense, Georgia and Clemson. I know they're Georgia's gonna be down Carson Beck, but Gunnar Stockton might have looked better. But I'm just saying, like that, like Quinn Ewers, that offense, like they do have athletes on the outside. I just don't get. I don't know if it's scheme, what it is, but like you're right. I think it's a confidence thing where like
Yeah,
they
I
don't
don't
push
get.
the ball downfield. They don't
Yeah,
push the ball
no,
down.
he has no. Like I get it. Like it's very hard to say from the outside. Like Georgia's D line is so threatening, and once a quarterback gets crushed, and with his injury history and everything like that, it's very hard to sit in that pocket and wait for something to open up. Wait for him to someone to get open, so you immediately check downs or throw it out of bounds. But he looks so genuinely bad against Georgia in it's just another game where Texas, I fall for the same Texas trap. I call it the Texas trap. Every single big game, I'm saying this is their year.
Yeah.
Right? Like this is it. I said there's no chance in hell that Washington beats Texas.
Yeah.
They literally wiped the floor with them. Technically, they only won by one possession, came down to a last play, but no one and their mothers really thought that game was that close. Texas couldn't keep up. They couldn't stop Washington. This year, go again. I knew Michigan was a terrible team. I thought the line should be closer to 20. It was at 9. They won by, I think, 25. And I said, that was a good team. Nothing more than that. They proceed to, beat Oklahoma and, some okay teams here and there, get smoked by Georgia on a game that everyone thought they were going to dominate Georgia. They don't. Georgia wipes the floor with them. And I said it once, I'll say it again. Like their best win might be Florida, where they wiped the floor with them, but DJ Lagway wasn't playing.
Wasn't even playing. So like I don't know if you
see a different team with DJ Lagway. So I'm saying to myself, one, I think they're fully undeserving of that number 5 spot. And I mean that.
No, I agree.
With every ounce of my body. I don't think that they deserve it. Their signature 2 wins, Florida in Texas A&M. I think Texas A&M ended 19th or 20th, or maybe not even in the top 25.
I think they were 8-4, and like I think both those Texas teams kind of benefited off weaker SEC schedules compared to like a team like Georgia or like Alabama. So like I don't know, like the thing with this Texas Clemson game, which really interests me, is that like both are so defensively oriented. Like I think both have great defenses, but like, is it going to be Quinn Ewers? Is it going to be Cade Klubnik? Like who can make the most plays in that game? And after that South Carolina game, like, Clemson, they don't deserve to win this playoff. But now that I look at their path right now, getting matched up with Texas, like, they could win that game if they can get that offense going. Because I think that Clemson defense is good enough. That linebacking core is so solid.
Yeah, no, I don't think anything's off the table. They impressed me very, very well against SMU. I like to think when I really don't know where a game is going to go, I like to sit back and look at it as if they are coaching battles, right? And I think the game of college football has come and passed Dabo Swinney, and I swear by that. But I do think that he might be better equipped, more experience, just an overall better coach than Steve Sarkisian is right now.
No, I agree. Like he wouldn't have pulled Quinn in that game against Georgia earlier. Like I think that's a bigger issue than people talked about a lot in the moment, but people haven't talked about that in a while about how pulling Quinn in that was like a pivotal game in the regular season. They pulled him, then they pulled Arch. And it's like, I think that messes with both quarterbacks' confidences. And I think it's like the fan bases now are like, who is the quarterback. And I think
Yeah, exactly. That's why there's so many rumors floating around about Quinn Ewers leaving.
I'm like, yeah, like they're the number 5 team. Like they might not deserve it, but they're the number 5 team in this bracket, and they could go on a serious run. And right now, more people are talking about where's Quinn going to be next year instead of like, are they going to be Clemson? Because if they beat Clemson, I think they stack up good against Arizona State, and then you win that game, you're in the Final Four.
Yeah. Yeah, no, it is crazy. We talked all year about how the 5 might have the best position in college football. And who would have thought that the 4 spot would have been Arizona State, not Boise? You know who truly is the best positions is the bottom 2 on the brackets. Penn State has a really good route. Notre Dame has a really good route. I think that both Penn State is very well equipped to play against SMU. I think they struggle more against Boise than people anticipate. The line would open, my guess, against Boise at like -9-ish, very similar to what it is versus SMU. You know, much closer game than what I think people would think. That Boise State team is very coercive. They can win some really good games. But, you know, going right to the Notre Dame game, I'm more concerned for Indiana than I am Georgia for Notre Dame. If we get to Georgia, I'm putting my entire mortgage on Notre Dame.
Yeah, and I agree for this reason alone is that Notre Dame is in a lot of trouble against Indiana if this turns into a shootout.
Yes.
Like if Rourke starts slinging the ball around, and I think Notre Dame's another team with a great defense. They're very similar to what all the things I just said about Texas and Clemson, where like offense leads some to be desired, defense very dominant, especially that secondary.
Notre Dame's offense is the same thing every single year. Is they're very, very good in games that they don't need to be very, very good on, and they're non-existent in games where we need them the most. When it is 3rd and 7, game on the line, they're nowhere to be found. But I've said it once, I'll say it again. I think that this is the best Notre Dame team I've seen in my lifetime, even better than that 2012 team. I think this is the year we're well equipped to make a really good run. Our run defense leaves a little bit to be desired. We're averaging about 135 yards of rush defense a game, which is certainly less than ideal. And I think Georgia could run really well on us. But if we can get a 3rd down stop, if we can keep them at 3rd and 7, 3rd and 8, load the box. You know, I don't want to already be looking towards Georgia, but, you know, I agree with you. I think that home field advantage plays a huge factor. Indiana was the one team that I really did not want.
They'll travel so well in-state. I think it's really cool to get an in-state rivalry. Back to what I was saying was like, Indiana, like if they can make this a shootout, like I know Notre Dame's defense is too good for that to happen, but Indiana's built for a game like that. And I think Notre Dame isn't. So, but if Notre Dame's defense shows up, they should have a problem. And then I think they stack up better against Georgia because Georgia's another team that has been like lately really struggling to put points on the board. But what you said about Notre Dame's run defense is a factor because that freshman running back Georgia has, Nate Frazier. He's looking like a stud right now.
Yeah, so and Etienne is very, very talented.
Yeah, the 2 running backs are really good.
I think they have a really good run defense. You know, with that being said, to be honest, this might be a little bit unpopular. I'd rather be Notre Dame than I would rather be Penn State. And the reason for that is, Johnny's expectations, right? Everyone is expecting Penn State to dominate SMU, which they will. I think they beat SMU by 14. Where I think they struggle a lot more is against Boise, who has, you know, obviously Ashton Gianti, the should have been, could have been, would have been Heisman winner in any other year. But I certainly wouldn't sleep on Boise any more than you would sleep on Georgia.
I don't know. I think Georgia's overall just a better team, especially defensively. And no, I agree with you. Like if we're just talking
pretty suffocating. I was really, really impressed by Boise in their conference championship. Granted, it was just UNLV, but you got to remember it was a 1-possession game against Oregon.
Yeah, no, I totally agree, and I'm not taking anything away against Boise. I'm also a Penn State fan that I'm not looking past SMU. I think Jennings, that offense is good. I hate when people skip ahead. I hate the look ahead spot. So I'm not trying to do that right now. And I get what you're saying just from a strictly like an expectations like standpoint. Like Penn State has the expectation. Like a lot of people put in the expectation they need to win 2 games. Notre Dame, it's like you need to beat Indiana, and then who knows what happens against Georgia.
Yeah.
But I'm not going to lie to you. If we're looking at Boise, looking at Georgia, I'd rather play like Boise. You know what I mean? Like I'm
see, I don't know. I'm kind of up in the air. Boise has that.
Come on.
Dude, Georgia had 56 yards offense in the first half.
That's against Texas, though, has a great defense.
So does Penn State.
Boise played UNLV.
So does Notre Dame. Don't sleep on that.
I'm not.
I would argue that Penn State's defense, Notre Dame's defense is better than Texas's, and that
I
you
totally
know for a fact
totally
they're not going to be
agree.
able to throw the ball. You can load up the box. I think that Boise is a very, very all around high quality team that's getting slipped on just because they're a group of five. I
Yeah.
think that they're going to give Penn State a lot more of a headache than I think Georgia would. I think Penn State would line up with Georgia a lot better than they will Boise.
Yeah, no, I'm just not ready to say I'd rather play Georgia than Boise State. I'm just
100% valid. That is 100% valid. I am just very nervous that everyone and their mothers is saying congrats to Penn State for making the semifinals when they
no.
have a very, very tough road ahead of them.
Oh no, I just said I'm not one of those guys. I'm not
Yeah.
doing that. I'm just saying Georgia went through an SEC gauntlet.
Yeah.
And they came out an SEC champion. Like, they're battle tested. I know what you can say, and I'm not high in their offense. I think the defense is good. They've got athletes everywhere in that defense, and I think their running game's really good. Who knows what happens at quarterback? Who knows what happens passing the ball? But they're battle tested right now.
That's valid.
Yeah.
That's valid. I think Penn State's biggest advantage is the same as Notre Dame's home field advantage.
Yeah.
It's supposed to be. I'm pretty sure Notre Dame's supposed to get 3 inches of snow on Friday, which will be the most electric game on earth. Have you ever played in snow, Johnny?
Oh yeah, in Mass. Yeah, we had a couple snow games. A lot of fun.
I'm trying to remember if we ever did. I know I didn't when I was in high school. And in
You guys
college, we had
earlier.
a little bit of snow. My sophomore year when we went out to South Dakota State, I remember there's big piles of snow already on the sidelines.
Mm-hmm.
And that one was tough because every time you shoot your hands, you feel like your knuckles are going to crack in half.
It's spring ball in New Hampshire. I remember them having to shovel the field.
Obviously, spring ball.
Yeah.
It's crazy how quickly you warm up. By the time calisthenics is done, it's like a normal August day.
Not if you're filming.
Not if you're
pretty cold on the scissor lift. Yeah.
But yeah, no, I do like the way Indiana. I think that inadvertently they got rewarded for taking second place in the Big Ten a lot better than Ohio State, which I love to see. But that brings us to the point of the team that got screwed the most is Oregon.
Yeah, no, I think this is a broken system, and a lot of people have talked about it. But the only thing why I'm not too mad, it's the first year. They'll fix it.
Yeah.
Like, they'll turn it into automatic bids instead of automatic buys, which I think will be a big step. But you're right. Oregon, the undisputed number one, had an amazing season. They got tested a bunch of times, Wisconsin, Boise, Ohio State. But where a lot of teams slipped up this year, they kept on winning. But they did get punished for that. Like, having to play the winner of Tennessee, Ohio State, and then, like, I don't know. Like, that's crazy. Whereas, like, Georgia's playing Indiana, Notre Dame. Boise's playing SMU, Penn State. Like they got punished for going undefeated, and
it almost seems like a punishment because I don't think there's anyone that's sitting there and saying truly, without their nose growing, that Ohio State is the 8th best team in the country. No, they had a terrible game against Michigan, laid an egg like nothing I've ever seen. When I think back on it, I watched the highlights over the weekend again just to get myself fired up to go do yard work. It pissed me off that much. And
yeah.
But you can't honestly believe that they're the 8th ranked team in the country. Like gun to gun, head to head, man to man, they are so much better than other teams that are ranked higher than them. That they just seem so flawed. Like they're obviously they'd be a 15-point favorite against Arizona State. I think they'd be a 10-point favorite against Boise in a different world. And what I'm trying to go with this is it seems like they did inadvertently punish Oregon because they could have put Ohio State at 7 and no one would have argued it.
Yeah.
They also could have put them at 5 and I don't think anyone really would have argued it.
No, I totally.
That 8-9 spot seemed like it was very deliberate.
I don't know. They kind of got themselves in. Well, by they I mean the playoff committee got themselves in a bad position by saying conference championships don't matter because that really kind of handcuffed them on what they could do. Like they couldn't have Ohio State jump anyone necessarily. So I think that kind of put them in a tough position. But
you're saying the runner-up to the conference championships.
That's what I'm saying. Like Ohio State, Ohio State couldn't jump a loser on conference championship.
Yeah, couldn't beat Penn State even though they won heads up.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
And I do kind of get that because if we're talking about worse losses, like that Michigan loss is just so bad. But I think it's also like a lot of this is due to like recency bias. It's like that Michigan loss was so fresh in everyone's head that like that's why they kind of got punished for it. I'm so excited for that Tennessee Ohio State game. I think that's going to
I mean, it's a game that I haven't really even thought that much about because I don't think it's going to be much of a game. It's for some weird reason in my head, and I've done this with every Ohio State game, is it screams 52-20 to me.
Yeah.
Granted, Ohio State has done none of that this year. This isn't the 2019 Ohio State or the 2016 Ohio State where they were continuously dropping 50-plus a game. This is a Ohio State that's gritty on defense and can't move the ball with some of the best athletes in the world on offense because they went bias with Chip Kelly as an OC.
Yeah, no,
but with that being said, I don't think that Tennessee stands a chance.
I don't know. The only thing, and you just kind of said it, was like it just blows my mind. Like, make it make sense. Like, Ohio State has one of the most talented offenses in this country, and they just struggle to score in some games. And I think this Tennessee defense is so good that I think it's going to be a game, because I've said it every single week on the podcast. I do not trust Will Howard. I don't trust Will Howard. I think he sucks. And I think, what's it, James Pierce, that freaking leader of that Tennessee defense, they're going to get after him. They're going to make him uncomfortable. And Will Howard's going to have to go out and win this game. And I think, like, I'm not high on Nico either, but I think he might be able to do enough. And Dylan Sampson, that running back, so
yeah, that running back is talented. I just don't get Ohio State because obviously they have such stud running backs, such wide receivers that this year screamed like easy. 2019 LSU. Yeah. This year screamed 2018 Clemson. One of the years with like Dexter Lawrence and like those guys. Because they had just so much raw talent. I was like, how do you screw this up? And then they did. Right? Like, Will Howard is so genuinely terrible. Their offensive line is terrible. Yet they have one of the best offensive line recruiting years every single year.
They're so injured on the offensive line. They're so injured on the offensive line.
Yeah, they are. And the injury bug will knock down the best of teams. Yeah. But, you're talking, you brought in and paid Chip Kelly to be offensive coordinator. He can't figure out a way to figure out some kind of slide protection to get Jeremiah Smith the ball 8 times a game, to get Ibuka the ball 7 times a game, and is it Carnell Tate?
Yeah,
get him the ball 8 times a game. I don't know who's getting the ball so much. I guess because if you're giving the ball to Trayvon Henderson and Quinshon Judkins 15 times each, and then those 3 wide receivers 8 times each, right? That's only 54 plays on offense. It's really not that many.
Yeah. I don't know.
And, it's just so hard for me to believe that, like, I feel like with the talent they have, they are having such a down year that if you go put Ibuka on Clemson, he's having a Heisman caliber year.
What about on Penn State?
Yeah, exactly.
You put one of those receivers on Penn State, they might be the number 1 team in the nation, because I'm sick of the Drew Aller hate. Drew Aller might be the best quarterback in this college football playoff. He's definitely top.
I can't think of anyone better. Like, granted, Riley Leonard's putting up some good numbers.
True. Dylan Gabriel's been super efficient. He's been so efficient.
Also, I think I can be super efficient with that offensive line.
Oh, no, everyone is a stud on that offense.
He has, on average, I think it was like 6.5 seconds to throw the ball.
And I know he got hurt, but like Tez Johnson, I know you mentioned him earlier. He's not talked about the same way any of those Ohio State receivers are talked about, which is pretty crazy.
Well, it seems like they scheme it up for him. They get him open, right? He doesn't have to be a football player. There's plays where he gets open. It seems like Ohio State is just doing such a bad job scheming
getting
guys.
And I think Oregon also, like, none of the guys have crazy numbers because, I don't know, they, like, game to game, different guys will have a day. Like against Ohio State, Dylan, I forget his first name, Stewart, the other guy, number 7. He had an unbelievable game. Tez Johnson against Penn State, Terrence Ferguson, the tight end, had a great game. Another one of those games. Jordan James, the running back. Whereas, like I feel like they spread out their game so much. Whereas Ohio State, I don't know, they struggled to spread the ball out. I also think what that Ohio State game is, like, a lot of people are like, well, it's in the horseshoe. It's in the horseshoe. It's in the horseshoe. Michigan just went into that horseshoe and kicked their ass. Like, I don't even know if home field even means anything.
If I was Tennessee, I would memorize every single play that Michigan did.
Yeah.
And do it exactly what they did. In the reason, not to go back to that game, the reason Ohio State lost is they expected to say, hey, I am bigger. You used to wrestle back in the day, Johnny, right?
Yeah.
You were the heavyweight class?
Yep, exactly.
So in heavyweights, one of the things that you do is if you start to really feel someone get tired, you start leaning on them.
Yeah.
And the more that you lean, the more tired they'll get. And eventually they're going to lean back, and then that's when you hit a move.
Yeah.
And Ohio State thought they were bigger, faster, stronger. We're just going to lean on Michigan until they bend. And then eventually we'll pop something, and then we'll pop something, and then we'll pop something. And it just never happened. Michigan just never took it. And if I was Tennessee and I'm going to that game, that's exactly my game plan. I am giving Samson the ball 27 times.
Yeah.
Whether it works or it doesn't, I'm still giving him the ball 27 times. I'm going to die on that hill saying he is going to get the ball just under 30 times a game. And we're going to let our playmakers make plays. And eventually either he's going to bust it or we're going to lose.
Yeah.
And I think that's the best way to do it. And I don't think that Ohio State is equipped to lean on people, yet they keep trying to.
No, and it just frustrates me because, like you said it, like those 3 receivers they have are so talented. But it might just be Will Howard because the 2 picks he threw against Michigan were egregious.
Yeah.
And maybe that's it. And I think this Tennessee defense will put enough pressure on Will Howard to make him make a couple mistakes. And it's like, can they do enough for Nico just to have a good game? He doesn't need to have a great game, but can the defense do enough to take the pressure off Nico, let him put up 21 points and then have that be enough? I don't know.
Field position game. That's all that is. The other thing I'm thinking in my head is that all year I justified Notre Dame's loss. And I said, imagine in a crazy situation, Notre Dame's kicker hits that 62-yard field goal.
Mm-hmm.
We win by 1. All is saved. We'd be the number 5 team in the country right now.
Yep.
If by any reason Will Howard pulls his head out of his own ass and leads the Buckeyes down the field, the fight never happens, people are never pepper sprayed, is this conversation between you and I different?
I guess. Oh yeah, it's 1,000% different. I guess it kind of depends.
Like we're talking about fundamental errors by Ohio State. I don't know how much different I'd feel even if they beat them just barely.
No, I'll tell you exactly why it's different. Well, I guess it would depend like how the Big Ten championship went, but 1,000% would be different because we don't talk about Georgia beating Kentucky 13-12. We're not talking about Oregon slipping by Wisconsin. We're not talking about Penn State slipping by Bowling Green. We're not like there's a lot of games that teams slip by, but they won. So wash your hands with it. It's over.
Yeah, we'll never look at it again.
And I think especially because that Ohio State Michigan game is a rivalry. And like, you know what they say, rivalries like throw the record book out, anything can happen. It's like what they say every time the Steelers and Ravens play. That's what I think what would have happened. And because Michigan ended up winning, that's why we're hating on them so much. I think this would be a different conversation.
The other thing that I almost kind of like, so obviously, our fans know that I am historically an Ohio State fan, right? It goes Notre Dame, then it goes Ohio State, then it goes Kansas State, which I've kind of drifted off K-State a little bit. I just don't love the way that they've been playing. Nonetheless, it kind of seems to me that Ohio State's in the best position. And this is a crazy comment, right? They're in the best position to prove themselves, right? Yeah. Like everyone washed them out after losing to Michigan. Everyone said that, this team is washed. Chip Kelly sucks. Ryan Day should be fired, including myself. I said that. I still don't disagree with it. It's tough to come back from something like that. But what I'm saying is that if you go through the playoffs the way that they are, if they beat Tennessee at home, go into Oregon and beat the only 13-0 number 1 ranked team, follow that up with a win at Texas, Clemson, or Arizona, most likely Arizona State, excuse me. Follow that up with a win against Penn State, Georgia, Notre Dame, Indiana, SMU. You're going to be looked at as a phenomenal team, despite your 2 losses, one of which was to a 6-win team.
Yeah.
But on the flip side, and Johnny, I don't want to get you upset. Please don't hang up on this. If Penn State does exactly what I just said, beats SMU, beats Boise, beats Notre Dame, beats Georgia, beats Indiana, and sees one of those teams in the finals, Oregon, Ohio State, Tennessee, Arizona State, so on, people are going to always forever talk about how they had the easiest line to the championship. Yeah,
no, it's crazy. And it's just, I don't know. It's just the narratives people come up. But I totally agree with that.
I do think that this is the only way that Ryan Day can truly prove himself that he is not soft, is to go out there, beat Oregon, follow that up with beating Texas. Right, I'm just playing out favorites here. Like, I have no idea what's going to happen.
Yeah.
But virtually, if it was switched, right, let's say something happened and they got the 6th spot. Everyone say typical Ohio State, right? Softest round on earth. Can't even beat Georgia. That's what they'd probably see in the semifinals and so on and so forth. And I think it works out well for his reputation. I think it works well for his legacy when it comes down to it, because if they win the Natty, I don't love their odds. They're still like the third favorite, which is crazy. But I do think that would be able to save it, and people would, like you said, be able to wash their hands with that Michigan loss just a little bit more.
Oh, if they win the national championship, a lot of people, and I hate this take, that are like, it doesn't matter if they win the national championship, they still lost to Michigan. No, it does. If they win the national championship, it's banner. I love the saying, banners fly forever. If you win, you're the winner forever. You know what I mean? Like, who cares what you did in the regular season? Like, how many times has there been an undefeated national champion? Like look at the NFL. The NFL, there's only been one undefeated team ever to win it, the Miami Dolphins, like 1972. Every time a Super Bowl champion wins it, we're not thinking about who they lost to. I don't know.
Yeah, no, I agree with you wholeheartedly. I'm pulling up. I want to just see really quick some of the odds to let our listeners know here. Let me just see. I'm pulling up the updated odds. College. So we have, I bet you could guess, Johnny. Let's see here. College football wins. No, that's not what I'm looking for. Hold on just a second here.
Odds to win it all?
Yeah, I can't seem to find. Oh, futures. Here it is. I bet you can guess who's the favorite. Let's see if you can go top 5 or top 6.
I'll go Oregon.
Yep, they are 3.6 to 1. You bet 3, you get 460. Bet
I'll
1,
go,
you get 460.
Georgia.
Texas is next.
That
makes absolutely no sense to me. Like, I know it's because they passed the eye test, right? They're big, they're strong, and they're fast. But so they're tied with Oregon. They're a pick.
That's crazy, but okay.
Yeah, both plus 360. Then we have Ohio State at plus 475.
I was gonna say Ohio State 3.
Then we have Georgia at plus 500, 5 to 1. Bet 5, get 6 back. We have Penn State 6 to 1. Notre Dame 7.5 to 1.
I'm kind of surprised. I feel like the nation hates Penn State, so I'm pretty surprised by them that high.
I think it just has to do with the path. I love to see where Notre Dame is. I love the fact that they're 7 to 1. They get through Indiana, and obviously, I bet they dropped to 4 to 1. Same with Penn State. Penn State, Notre Dame will be, my guess is, mirroring each other in terms of odds until they play in the semifinals. And if that happens, are we going?
Yeah. No, yeah, we're going.
I'll just have to refinance my house.
Whatever price it is,
Yeah. You just chop up a credit card when you're done with it, I think.
Yeah,
who cares? Just a piece of plastic.
Yeah, no, memories are priceless, Pash.
So, side note, I have a bet with Keith actively that Keith said about probably right around Halloween that Notre Dame is not well equipped for the playoffs. I said, on the contrary, I think that they are really well equipped. He said, I think they lose in the first round. I said, what are the odds that they win 2 games in the playoffs? At the time, I thought they were going to get the 5. And he said 7 to 1. I put 50 on it. So then he doubles down after the bracket was released because it's his Georgia Bulldogs. So if they win 2 games, it'll be against his 2 Bulldogs.
Yeah.
And the bet is not only 50 to win 350, but the loser of the hypothetical Georgia Notre Dame has to walk a marathon in a day.
That's really good. Walking it, that sucks.
Says you, skinny boy, who used to run marathons, but for someone who's a little bit bigger, that's hard.
Because I think Notre Dame is equipped to win some games. I don't know if they're equipped to win this whole thing, but I think they definitely can play spoiler on a lot of teams just because of the brand of football they play.
So let's start talking a little bit about the games this week, right? We have, and I'm just going to throw these out there. I want you to listen to them. We're not going to pick them yet. We still have a few minutes left. We have Notre Dame versus Indiana. Notre Dame is a current touchdown favorite, just a little bit more, 7.5. What's crazy is that when that line first opened up, the playoffs were released, they were at 10.5. Notre Dame was 10.5, and I was going to pick Indiana. That's a lot.
That's a lot of points just because I just don't trust Notre Dame's offense. I trust them to win I trust they're good enough to win this game, but I don't know. Seeing Notre Dame a double-digit favorite over anyone right now, it scares me.
Yeah, I mean, they're 10-2 on the year in terms of covering against the spread, so I wouldn't be too hesitant there. You can guarantee 3 things in life: death, taxes, and Jeremiah Love to score a touchdown. We have Penn State versus SMU. Penn State is just about the same as Notre Dame, but minus 8.5 point favorite. at home. I think that line is too low.
Yeah, I'd say 11.5.
Yeah, I said 11, maybe even 12 and a half. SMU looked absolutely terrible in the first half. Obviously Penn State didn't look terrible at any point throughout the game. They were just getting beat at points of the game.
Yeah, I think what hurt Penn State in that game is just, I don't know, they got caught in a track meet, and that's not the brand of football they play. They're great, and it surprised me how well they threw the ball. But like, they're the best when they can kind of rely on the run, get the play action going, get Tyler Warren in space, that type of ball, get the run game going. And I
that
think
trick play that they had with Tyler Warren, I was so rooting for when they had him run the seam right down the middle of the field.
It was just it hit his
got somewhat twisted around, and
that was such a good play, and that's why I'm so hyped that Andy Koltanicki said he's coming back next year because I think he's a great offensive coordinator.
Yeah.
But that being said, like when they ran the ball against Oregon, they were getting everything they wanted, but they just kind of got to a point in the game where they just couldn't run the ball anymore. They had to try to push it downfield.
Yeah.
I think they'll be able to run the ball all day on SMU, so that won't be a problem.
Then we have Texas versus Clemson. We've talked about them into some decent depth. Texas minus 12 doesn't really make a whole lot of sense to me. I got to be truthful. Yes, they are a tough, big team. Clemson has been gritty. That win against SMU should not be sneezed on.
No.
And, the 12 points is just too much. You're coming off two different stories, right? Texas plays the second worst game they have all year, if not arguably the worst game they've played all year. Follow that up with Clemson, who just beat their best opponent of the year.
Mm-hmm.
And you're saying, what? You know what I mean? I think so many people are using almost the communicative property here that, Georgia smoked Texas. Georgia also beat Clemson. Therefore, it's de facto Texas can smoke Clemson.
Yeah, and the reason why I push back against that is just because I know they lost that game against South Carolina, but they were in that game. That's 17-14. Yeah. That's a gritty game against a good SEC team. Like, I don't know. I just think the way Texas offense looks right now, like, I don't know. I think Clemson is very much alive in this game. I think they play very good defense. So that's going to be, that's going to be a good one.
So then lastly, we have Ohio State, Tennessee. We talked a little bit about this one. Ohio State's a 7.5-point favorite. In my head, I've already mentioned, I think this is a 52-20 type game. Whenever I trust my head, I always lose a lot of money, so I try not to think like that. In reality, this is a 23-18 game where Tennessee covers late, a game where, I actually probably will fall asleep during. It's going to be very defensive heavy, very lacking offense. I bet, both running backs throw the ball a whole bunch. Which game out of those four, Johnny, is there one I'm missing?
No, you said Indiana, Notre Dame, SMU, Penn State, Tennessee, Ohio State, Clemson, Texas.
Yeah. Which one are you most excited for?
Oh, probably the night game, Tennessee, Ohio State, because I think that's who is Nico or Will Howard, like who's going to step up and make a play. Yeah. I think that's the one I'm most excited for.
Do you see a world where Tennessee wins this game?
Yeah. Wow. I think so. The game I think that will be the closest will be Clemson, Texas. I think that will be a disgusting, disgusting game. I think it's going to be like 17-14 or like, I don't know, like 12-7. Like I think it's like both defenses really dominate. No one can kind of get a play and maybe like a field goal late or something.
Yeah, I mean, Clemson hands down has my favorite playoff game of all time when they played Ohio State. Trevor Lawrence ran up the sideline for like 70 yards.
Yeah, it was a sick game.
It was the most electric playoff game. I think that
was that Justin Fields?
Was
that Justin Fields?
Justin Fields, Trevor Lawrence.
Yeah.
I think that a coach that's been in this position and who's won in this position is kind of deadly. They're coming off, like I said, their biggest win. I think Clemson has a huge chance to upset Texas here. I think that they could be absolutely really shock the world with that game. Texas just hasn't impressed me. And there's no way around that. I don't think they run the ball well. I don't think that they throw the ball deep downfield. I think that they could really run into some problems. I'm obviously most excited for Notre Dame, Indiana, two teams that I've been following very heavily on. Notre Dame is a team that obviously I'm rooting for to win the Natty. Indiana is a team that I just wanted to make the playoffs. Now that they're here, I don't really know what to do with them. They're really going to get shown if they were truly a good team this year. Kurt Cignetti is really showing what he can do. All due respect, Kurt, I hope you get smoked by Notre Dame your Cinderella story. I want it to be over.
These are your two favorites all year. Like,
I
you've
know.
been
I felt
so
sick
high
my
on both
stomach when
teams.
that eye got released. I knew it. I knew it. And
In-state rivalry is sick, though. That's awesome.
It is. And I think that there's a reason why the Notre Dame tickets were the most in all of college football. Notre Dame Stadium will be absolutely bananas.
Should be awesome, yeah.
This is going to be crazy. Last time Notre Dame played a night game was in the year 1900 against, it was like Chicago Physicians and Surgeons.
Do they even have lights?
Nothing.
Why do they have lights if they never do a night game?
Yeah, I don't know. They don't do a Friday night game.
Oh, that's what you meant. Okay, sorry.
Yeah, Friday night game. They haven't played on Friday since
Friday Night Lights, baby. High school football.
124 years.
High school football, baby. Friday night
crazy.
Lights.
I cannot wait. I think that game will truly be really, really good. I think that Riley Leonard could run for some really some exciting runs. I think that they will struggle a little bit against Indiana early on with their run game because Notre Dame leans heavily on that. Indiana's only averaging about 75 yards on rushing defense a game. So Notre Dame might struggle a little bit there. Got to keep O'Rourke in check. Notre Dame will have no problem there. I think that this is a favorites weekend, to be honest. You know, I did the math. If you bet all the favorites to win money line, you'd be at 2-1. Not juicy enough for me to bet it, but certainly interesting.
Yeah.
So, Johnny, just to actually do your picks here, let's just go through them. We have Notre Dame -7.5 versus Indiana. Who do you have?
Notre Dame. I like Indiana. I think they've had a great season. I think Cignetti's kind of starting something there. But I think Notre Dame's defense is way too good.
Yeah, I agree. Like I said, I think Notre Dame will eventually bust some runs out. Indiana won't be able to keep up. We saw what they weren't able to do against Ohio State. Notre Dame has a very similar aggressive defense on with Al Gordon. I think that they get all over their offensive line. We have Penn State versus SMU. I think we both agreed -8.5 is just too little.
Yeah, don't even ask me. Stop it. Yeah, Penn State by a lot.
I might stretch that line out a little bit. I might go to 11.5.
Nice. I'll ride that.
Yeah. So then we have Texas versus Clemson. I'm going to preview my Cheesecake Factory pick of the week, not only because I need to gain 10 points here. You're currently winning 28-18, but I do think Clemson has a chance to win this game.
Oh, yeah. I've said it on the pod already, and I've said it to you all week. I think Clemson's so alive in this game. I don't know. I'm still going to pick Texas. I think – I don't
Texas to cover here?
Oh, yeah. I'll pick no, actually, no. Clemson. For a second.
I wrote that in marker, Johnny. You got to be careful next time.
You said Cheesecake Factory, and that kind of broke my brain for a second. Yeah, no. I'm going to take Clemson to cover, but I think Texas wins the game.
Yeah, I don't know. I think it could be a really, really close game. What's crazy about this playoffs is I think a lot of teams are going to really build off this. I think Notre Dame's going to have a great recruiting class. I think Indiana's going to have a relatively legendary recruiting class. Clemson won't. Clemson's been here. There's nothing exciting about Clemson. They're just having a good year because their quarterback's now on year 2 or 3. But I do think that this is a good opportunity to build on a really good year for Clemson. We have Ohio State versus Tennessee. Ohio State's a 7.5-point favorite at home. Last time they were at the Horseshoe, they were a 23-point favorite. The game left with people getting tased and or pepper sprayed. Ryan Day sat there and looked stupid as hell. I'm going to take Ohio State here. I think that this is a spot where if they only win by 3, if they only win by 4, people will be at Ryan Day's house with pitchforks and fires and ready to throw him into the river and hire the next guy out, which would be Marcus Freeman for the reference. So I'm expecting some trick plays. I'm expecting some deep balls. I'm expecting some unexpected second down plays, stuff like that. Ohio State -7.5.
This is my Cheesecake Factory pick of the week.
Ooh.
Rocky Top, baby. I love that Tennessee defense, and I do not trust Will Howard. So I'm going to go
Wow,
Tennessee.
Johnny, I hope you're wrong. I think, if anything, that is a defensive pick where you are anticipating a matchup against Oregon, and you're a bit nervous, and you would much rather have Tennessee.
No, if anything, like, you just kind of scaring me. Like, I like that Clemson pick, but obviously if you're going to go Cheesecake there with 12, like, that's
valid.
Much.
Well, the spreads are massive. You're talking a touchdown or more for each of them. You're not going to pick against your Penn State.
I'm not going to Penn State, and then I just don't trust Indiana. I don't trust Indiana to win that game.
Exactly. And this, one of my biggest concerns with this playoff and why I think they have to change the format of it a little bit is that is that the biggest complaint about the college football playoff is historically the games kind of sucked.
Yeah, yeah. No, they
You
were
know,
all
like
blowouts.
last year's games were probably the first double exciting games. But
Yeah.
then like 2 years ago, it was Michigan, TCU, and then Georgia, Ohio State. Georgia, Ohio State was awesome. Michigan,
Yeah.
TCU was also awesome. But then the playoff, the
Championship was
championship game
awful.
sucked.
There's that
And then
Michigan
the year
State
before
game.
that, it was Michigan, Georgia. Georgia wiped the floor of Michigan, and then it was
There's a bunch of them. Like I don't know, like in order, but
yeah,
like there was that Michigan State Alabama game where they just killed Michigan State. There
yeah,
was so many college playoff games the team just got killed.
yeah. And you know, I'm nervous that this first round is going to leave such a sore taste in the mouth. Like if each of the favorites wins by 2 touchdowns, everyone's going to be like, yeah, Indiana didn't deserve to be here. SMU didn't deserve to be here. Clemson just didn't deserve to be here, and so on and so forth. But
I don't know.
reality, they could deserve to be here, but they don't deserve to be where they are.
I think Boise State and Arizona State might be in trouble next round, but I think the winner of Tennessee Ohio State against Oregon will be a really good game, and I think the winner, if Notre Dame wins, that's a big. I think that against Georgia will be an exciting game. So
Yeah,
I think
I
we'll have
agree.
some good news, yeah.
I agree. Well, Johnny, I'm excited to see you this weekend. And,
Yes.
we'll watch some good football. We'll smoke some good cigars. We'll eat some good food.
Nice.
All right, dude.
See ya.